Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Bizarre Matchups Community Stand Edition. Today we got 11th Hour versus Ugly Art. 11th Hour was submitted by the member of the community, the Copper Element itself, and Ugly Art was submitted by the member of the community, Tom. If you want to have a chance to be featured in one of these videos, join my Discord or comment your stand so I can have a look at it and maybe it will be featured in the next video. So without further ado, let's get into the video. First up again, the rules. Typical city, 100 meters apart from each other as starting points, moral rules are off, and there are no people to be endangered or used for anything around. There are cars, buildings, light poles, etc. Alright, rules set, let's start with 11th Hour. The ability of 11th Hour is basically to create illusions. By hitting someone or their stand, this illusion will take effect and will basically build an area where this illusion takes place. Anyone in this area will experience the illusion, but the illusion will revolve around the person that was hit by the stand, 11th Hour. And what happens in this illusion is from person to person very different, as it will always represent the last daydream someone had. Most of the time daydreams are not that detailed, so I would imagine that there is some sort of room for interpretation by the user of 11th Hour. So the environment in a daydream mostly isn't that detailed, so maybe he has some sort of control over it. Speaking of control, he actually does have control over the properties inside this illusion. They will always be felt as physical, even if the person trapped in this illusion knows that it is an illusion. And for example, a person that is created by this illusion can be controlled by 11th Hour. This has to stay in realistic boundaries, so no flying people, no turning into giant monsters or whatever. So a knife will stay a knife, but 11th Hour couldn't make stab you. A weakness to this ability is that it has a limited range and that it can be broken. If you basically reach the outer wall of this illusion, you can break through it and leave the illusion. But it will not collapse until the person that is emitting the illusion basically leaves the illusion itself. So other people that were sucked in by this illusion and they leave won't make the illusion collapse itself. But the hole will still be there for the person that were hit by the stand to leave itself. When it comes to the stats, it has a C in destructive power, a D in speed, a in range, a C in durability, a B in precision, and a C in potential. When it comes to the range, the A is more focused on the radius of the illusion and not the range that the stand itself has. The range of the stand would be a C, so rather short distance. Thanks a lot to the Copper Element itself. I think this stand is really cool, really creative. Has a nice restriction of being dependent on what the person is dreaming about in their day-to-day life, and I think this is really cool. It has a lot of possibilities with the character, so the user, and it can be either really strong or really weak. I really like the stand. Thanks a lot for your submission. Let's move on to the stand, the Ugly Art. For this stand I will explain the user's personality because it is very important to the stand's ability. This stand utilizes perspective to fight and do anything basically with his ability. Perspective in the sense of vision, that you basically can see your hand larger than a door that is further away from you, and also perspective of how you see things. So if you hallucinate and see a ladder, a hole in the ground, or whatever, it will come into existence while the stand is used. And basically, if there are illusions, the user doesn't have any control over them. He can only touch them in a physical sense. And this is where the weakness of the stand comes into play. Basically, the illusions can go rogue on him. As much as other people can get hurt by his illusions, so can he. And combined with his personality, it makes it even worse. As the user is a schizophrenic, hallucinating murder artist that has multiple personalities in the form of voices, which can manifest through the stand. These voices are all very aggressive and are the reason for his murderous behavior. And they do get aggressive when the user isn't following their lead. So it is very much possible for him to be attacked by these voices. The voices in his head are somewhat picky, as they always make him murder people in very special and very brutal ways. So pleasing them might turn out to be rather difficult. But as long as he obliges their lead, he will be safe basically. Or to some extent at least. When it comes to the stats, we have invariable power, of course, as it's always dependent on what the user sees in the moment and how he is hallucinating. An F in speed, because the stand is literally just a pair of gloves. An S in range, which of course it's the user's sideline. An F in durability, an F in precision, and an A in potential. Also to you, Tom, this is such an incredible cool stand and it really ties up with the user's personality. I really love the stand. Thanks to your submission as well. Now let's get to the matchup. And the matchup was actually chosen by the two creators of the stands. And I have to say, you created some very interesting matchup. The stands kind of complement each other in a fight very well. Because of course, a daydreaming of some psychopath serial killer will be very intense and interesting. Added to that are hallucinations, so the illusions of 11th hour could be basically anything. This would power up the stand of 11th hour in quite a bit, because there could be whatever, monsters, dragons, whatever you can imagine, always dependent on the user of ugly art. But the stronger the illusions are, the stronger the user of ugly art gets as well. Because he can use the illusions with his ability of perspective. Also, of course, he can add his own. And for the sake of this matchup, we will say that they can distinct their own illusions and creations from their stand apart from the other user's illusions / creations. What I think would happen based on the user of ugly art's personality is that first up he will find himself in this very weird situation. Voices in your head or a split personality is mostly a response to trauma, so they will basically go rogue on everything inside this illusion. Of course, they are only as strong as the user imagines them to be. And the first fight would be between the illusions of the ugly art and the illusions of 11th hour. And as I said, they basically power up each other, so I think it will be a rather balanced fight. But while all this happens, the user of 11th hour doesn't have much control of what is happening. Of course, he can control the illusions to some extent, but he cannot change their capabilities, properties, or anything. He can only tell them what to do, basically. But the user of ugly art still has perspective in the visual sense, so he can shrink the illusions, making them easier to defeat. So ultimately, I personally would say that the ugly art wins after a very hard fight. But I want to hear your opinion on this. I will open up another poll and link it here in the video. So you can go and vote on which stand wins. Do you think ugly art takes the upper hand? Or do you think the illusions of 11th hour will make the user of ugly art admit defeat? Nonetheless, this would be a very interesting and of course visually insane fight. So, your turn. Go to the poll, tell me what you think, reason in the comments, and again a huge thank you to the copper element itself and Tom for submitting these great stands. Again, if you want to be featured in one of these videos, go join the Discord or comment your stand below. I'll hope to see you guys in the next one, and bye bye.